tend to be more open than adults to visits from my kind. Marnie likes to play games with the little ones. When they're falling asleep on a parent's shoulder, she sings lullabies. Every once in a while, one of them gets scared by her presence and screams bloody murder, which puts her into a funk for weeks to come. All she wants is to offer love and comfort. But some people, even kids, just don't want solace from a ghost. There are those, like Colonel Ridgway, who will go on repeating their last action over and over again. Then there are those who learn to move around the physical worlds, passing through walls, appearing and disappearing at will, moving objects. The truth of it is, we ghosts can learn to do all kinds of things, so long as we have the will, the patience, and the stamina. I was the victim of a killer who first took the lives of others before he took mine. But there's no pain in my world, especially not for me, because Matt's here with me, and that's really all that matters. He died the night of my almost death, and he stayed behind to warn me, to save me. But my salvation wasn't to be. In the end, I died to save Genevieve O'Brien. And so far, at least, I've been successful. But as a social worker, she's one of those people who won't rest in her quest to help others, and that can put her in danger sometimes. Then there's Joe Connolly, Matt's cousin. He's a private detective and a super guy, a tough guy. But no one's so tough that he can defy death. Life's not like the movies. Most of the time, the bad guys can aim, so Joe can use some protection whether he knows it or not. I believe Matt and I have stayed on because of either Joe or Genevieve, or maybe both. It's our job to make sure they, and maybe others, stay safe. Nope, being a ghost isn't easy. In fact, it's damn hard work protecting people when most of the time they can't even see you and don't think they need protection anyway. Take Joe. He has a thing about going to the graves of the people he couldn't save, including Matt's and mine. Sometimes he brings flowers. Sometimes he just sits in deep thought. And sometimes he talks. Then he looks around, hoping that he hasn't been overheard. I imagine that it would be difficult to obtain new clients if word got out that he was insane. But everyone out there has his own way of coping with loss. For Joe, it's talking to people at their gravesites. That's how we became involved in the Poe killings. And that's how Joe became involved with Genevieve again. She was a child of privilege, but even after she'd almost lost her own life, she couldn't stop herself from investigating problems, including murder.
Chapter 1. The crash occurred on the FDR. Strange thing, Joe had just been driving along Manhattan's East Side and thinking it was amazing that there weren't more accidents on the busy and outdated highway, when right in front of him, a crash caused the car a few lengths ahead of him to slam into someone else. The sounds of screeching tires, shattering glass, grating steel, and several massive impacts were evidence that the domino effect had come into play. Someone almost stopped in the aftermath of the first collision, but then that car was pushed into the next lane, and the driver coming up didn't have time to stop. He slammed into it hard and careened into the next lane. The car that hit that driver bounced over the median and into the oncoming traffic going south. Joe somehow made it off to the side, threw his car into park, and hit 911 on his cell phone. He reported what he saw and his position, dropped the phone, and hurried out to help. The car that had caused the initial crash was fairly far ahead of him, but there was a line of disabled vehicles stretching back from it almost to where he was. The people in the car closest to him were fine, and so were the people in the next vehicle, and the driver of the third probably had nothing more than a broken arm. The smell of gas around the car that had hopped the median was strong, though, a bad sign. People had stopped all around, talking, shouting, while other drivers were trying to get around the wreckage no matter what. "Hey, it's going to blow up," someone called to Joe as he approached the car. He lifted a hand in acknowledgement, but kept going. He wasn't a superhero. He had just worked a lot of accident scenes when he had been a cop, and an inner voice was assuring him that, death-defying or not,